Hey everybody, thank you for tuning in. It's Brandon the Therapist, and today I'm joined with a special guest. It is the wife.
Hello, my name is Lauren.
So, we're going to jump into a Q&A and talk about how she felt during the infertility journey. But before we get started, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. Also, click the bell and follow me on Instagram at brandon.therapist. So, Q&A time. Everybody knows how I feel, for the most part.
Right.
What was the hardest part about this journey for you?
I would say after I was tested, so they do all the general tests on women, trying to figure out something wrong with the ovaries, something wrong with your cycle. After all those tests, that's when I realized this is a bigger picture, which I thought was a curable picture, but a bigger picture when we had to start looking at you. And so the hardest part was I was gung-ho for myself. Get in there, figure it out, work with the doctors, but then he wasn't gung-ho of figuring it out and working with the doctors. And I think that was the hardest part, was trying to convince you to give it a go, give it a try. Let's fix it. Everything's curable, at least. At least that was our thought, that everything was curable. That was probably the hardest.
And I remember when I went to the doctor and he was like, well, did she get tested? And I was like,
Right, yeah.
yeah, she got tested twice.
They made it seem like, why test the man first? The woman needs to be first. And I'm like, hey, I did mine. My job, I did. So, yeah.
So, and to keep in mind, my reluctance is because I come from a very fertile family. Somebody's probably pregnant as we talk. I don't know.
We're going to cut that out. Your reluctance seems what, again?
My reluctance is that I came from a very fertile family. And with that, it was just, why would this exist in my side of the family, or for me? And I didn't want to believe it, and it was denial even up until after I got tested.
I thought that was a very weird thought. Like, my whole entire family is fertile, so no one can have problems. And your whole entire family is not fertile. There are other people in this family that do suffer or have had suffered from infertility. It's just secretive. And I think that's how most couples are. They're secretive about it.
And I didn't pay attention to that until I actually went through my journey and started questioning things and learning more. And I know I joined this journey late. How could I have better supported you in the beginning and early phases of it?
I think the very beginning, you have to realize that your body is not perfect and that something could be wrong with it. And so once you get over that hump, that something can be wrong, that I can have a failed part of the body, that would have helped us as a couple to start tackling the problem all at once. I think we approached it with the mentality like nothing is wrong and doctors are wrong. So getting through that denial stage that something could be wrong, that would have helped a lot better. I think we were stuck there the longest.
Yes, and I want to say depression for me.
Yeah, after the denial,
Yeah.
then came the depression.
So the depression stage was difficult because I didn't want to make a move.
Right.
And in some ways, you sort of gave me a little nudge. Sometimes
nice.
that nudge was just like, bow!
Oh, that's nice. I literally was like, get off your butt. You are okay. We're going to fix this. Stop moping. Yeah. So nudge, we'll call it nudge, should be nice. So.
I guess if we can, looking back now, what would you have changed or done differently?
For which part? The infertility part where we got done to depression?
The entire process. Because it might have been dragged on longer than it should have.
Yeah, for those who don't know, before we even started the paperwork for adoption, I think we struggled through it almost 5.5 years.
Yeah.
5.5, 6 years. So I think we could have shortened it if we weren't so emotionally distraught
Right.
about never being able to conceive. And I think that's where doctors come into play. They use that terminology, that permanent terminology of never conceiving. He will never be able to bear children. And then he went on to use verbiage like he has a 10% chance if we did surgery, a 20% chance if we did this and that. Like, so he approached it with such negative, but real.
Yeah. It was honest.
He was honest, but that made us stuck. I think we were so emotionally distraught over nevers, and no possibilities, those kind of words.
Yeah, and probably the fact that it was new for both of us, and you get this pressure from our parents, especially of when you gonna have a child, when you gonna have a child, or in my mom's case, when you gonna make me a grandmother. I'm the only one who's not a grandmother.
Yeah.
And
I work with somebody else's
right.
reward, but it was a lot of pressure, and I'm pretty sure there's lots of people out there the exact same way.
Yeah.
Tons of pressure.
You know, why do I have pressure to add stress to my life?
It became stressful. Normally having a baby is not stressful. It's fun. It's just not for people who suffer through infertility. It is stressful, not as much fun.
And for the women who have husbands who they know infertility, what advice would you give them?
Be patient and have a limit to your patience. So this guy right here, he can milk opportunities of being patient. If you give him a chance to sit back and not do anything for a few months, he will find a way to stretch it to a year. And that's where you have to have patience to let him work through the emotions of not being able to conceive, having struggle, having to have surgery to fix it, all those variables. As a woman, as a partner, you have to have patience so they can emotionally and mentally work through it. But then you have to have a limit. And it says you cannot drag this on. Not another month, not another year. And I think in our case, it was almost a year. Yeah, it was almost a year and a month or two that we sat around and did absolutely nothing but just sulk in our emotions.
And I think there were other things going on that contributed. Less of actually wanting to postpone it or delay it. But it was just life got the best of us too. And during this journey, you can't forget about life's issues.
Right. But I think depression, when you fall into the depression stage in your infertility journey, getting yourself out or getting your partner out of that stage, it takes so long. And sometimes you need emotional help from a therapist, from a counselor. Because best friends, trust me, they don't know enough to help. Best friends have no clue what to do for you. Cousins and parents and aunts, friends, they don't know how to help in the struggle. So,
Far from it.
yeah, it's depressing in itself, but then it's extremely lonely. You don't have champions behind you cheering you on, says, go make a baby. You can do it. You can do it. And so, yeah, but it's extremely depressing. And so trying to pull your partner out of that ring and pull them into the next stage of your journey, that was the most time consuming. And I think we allow life to get in the way.
Yeah.
We allow, my second job, because we want to travel here and there, or I don't know. It was something. Oh, it was always something for that year time frame.
And then you did recommend I go to therapy and try to sort through these problems, and I'm like, I can't find a therapist.
Yeah, a therapist who can I find a therapist to talk about infertility?
Yes, and I needed a strong therapist because
Yeah.
sometimes as a therapist you go into a therapist's office and you try to out therapy each other.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So I needed one who would call me out on my BS. And I just couldn't find a male therapist at the time in which I wanted,
Right.
because I didn't feel comfortable talking to a female about my scrotum. It just, I didn't. It was where I was at the moment.
Can you say this sentence without using the word scrotum?
I don't know how to say it.
About my infertility struggle.
At,
Jesus, please.
at that moment, I didn't know how to talk to a female therapist about my infertility journey and being male, and if they would even be able to
Sympathize? Empathize?
empathize and be familiar with,
Right.
because mainly every profile was talking about how to deal with a woman and her infertility struggles, but men are still left out,
Right.
you know, and even
It was support for you to support me.
right.
And there's still hardly any places that have support for the spouse or the woman to support the man that's going through infertility.
you
It's
know.
still hard to find.
So that's where we based our model around.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much is how do I teach the male how to get through this and teach the spouse how to support the male as well as deal with their own emotions also, because as we see, it's not just one person who goes through it.
Right.
So in that case, what would be some tips that you have in helping to go through it?
For you or for the spouse?
For the spouse, because women, I'm there for the men. You know, the women often are lost in how to help their husbands. And I tell them how to help well.
Right. Outside of patience, I would say another suggestion would be go back to the things you loved before having a baby was on the table. We missed out on a lot of opportunities of traveling, a lot of opportunities of doing hobbies we like, such as coloring together, wine tastings, things like that, because we were so focused on trying to get pregnant, trying to save for the next procedure, the next test, booking life around doctor's appointments. So make sure you guys stop at least once a week to do something that you used to do, that you loved, and enjoy that. I would say option or suggestion number 3 would be to surround yourself by someone else, another couple, somebody of the same gender who is suffering the same way. If it's via social media, that's easier. If it's local, but you have to be around someone else who's going through the same thing, even if it's just a matter of knowing they're going through the same thing, or someone to complain with who will actually give you some suggestions or a kind ear and doesn't look at you as if this is a problem that you could fix and I don't know why you can't fix it. So that surrounding yourself by good help, good friends, or good listening ear.
Yes. So guys, I'm gonna wrap up this video. This is the wife again. Her name is Lauren.
I have a name.
If you know me, you know her as the wife.
Yes.
Make sure you follow me on Instagram at Brandon.therapist and DM us any questions that you may have in any way that we can help and support you. Until then, peace, God bless, and
Take care. Bye-bye.
bye-bye.